You just like an actual, no, like close to be back. I'll look it up and bring it.
Go!
That's my dad when he gets back.
I'm just trying to get this.
I doubt it. Yeah. Whenever we get hurt, I just don't know how to make it. That's just true.
I just don't know how to say So like, that was probably one of my top 5. I know. Is it not? You can chill out. Yeah, but I was just chilling.
This is the part where you're quiet. That includes you, Callister. Should be that quick. Who's still going? Okay. So when you say the words, what did you get, look at your friend's page and then write down that, that's not exactly honest with yourself. By definition, it also hits our academic dishonesty policy, and we can just scrap all of your daily quizzes as zeros. Please don't do that. Okay, that works. I gotta have my phone on. This block, things are gonna be a little bit different. All good? Okay. Short version. Said, whatever the function is, the master form of any form of transformation is going to be A. A out front tells me vertical stretch, vertical compression, vertical reflection. Also called reflection in the x-axis. B. Doesn't happen as much in Algebra 2. It's Bass-Ackwards land because it's grouped in with the x. If there's parentheses, a square root, absolute value bracket, whatever it is, if it's grouped in there, it is opposite land. So it is a stretch compression by a reciprocal, but horizontally instead of vertically. And if there's a negative there, it will also be a horizontal reflection. H, probably the easiest one. Those are horizontal translations, left and right. K is vertical translations, up and down. Those four spots. So if I'm looking at, I used all my colors though. I use green. I didn't use yellow. Never mind. There. If I take this and turn it into this, 6 changed into a -2. Do you see any parentheses up there? If there's no parentheses around the x, if there's no absolute value around it, if there's no square root bracket, if there's no, if it's not on denominator, if there's no grouping with x, I assume that both the 6 and the -2 are in that A spot. So I took a 6 and turned it into a -2. What did you multiply by? -3. The negative is its own transformation. It's a vertical reflection, or you can call it reflect an x-axis. The 3, well, was it 3 or was it 1/3? 1/3, right?
Yeah.
So that was the difference between a stretch versus a compression. It was this tall. Now it's this tall. Was it stretched or compressed? So I would say a vertical compression by 1/3. And then a +5 is tacked on there. Is that +5 in the parentheses or outside of parentheses? Well, there are no parentheses. So it's outside. And it's positive. So it went up 5. It's a vertical translation, 5 units up. That's it. If you got the holy grail of transformations, you just look at those 4 spots and say, what spot is it in? It does this thing. Okay? Second one, I'm going to transform x squared 8 units left, 5 units down. Left. arrow's right there, left. If I go left 8, I need to say plus 8, and it needs to be in parentheses grouped with x. Grouped with x in the h spot. 5 units down. Down is negative in the k spot. Done. That's it. That is it. Five things, 5 points. Yes, ma'am.
How do you know it's a square?
Because that's the parent. Mathematical terms of who's your daddy. Okay? Like, that's it. You take the parent function and you do those 4 things to it. And this comes back to us. Now it's with, mostly this one was about lines. But then today, absolute value. Chapter 4, quadratics. Chapter 5, polynomials. Chapter 6, radicals. Chapter 7, logs. Chapter 8 or 9, I forget, rationals. Like, this keeps coming back. Believe me, day 1, you might get a little bit cross-eyed with it. By the end of the semester, not even the end of the semester, halfway through the semester, you are bored to tears of this because it's like y equals mx plus b over and over and over and over and over. It is that fundamental to what we do in Algebra 2. Okay? Kind of a big deal. And a whopping one of you asked questions on it. So, speak now or forever hold your pieces. I can't do anything if you don't tell me. Okay. 42, I took this and I turned it into this. It was just tiny right there. In the video, I explicitly said if there's ever any form of reflection, say it first. Just like the order of operations. Reflections are multiplying by a negative. Vertically stretching and compressing is multiplying by something. In the order of operations, multiplication comes before addition, so I should do that stuff first. It was this, now it's this. Do you see parentheses around the x? No. So is it in the A spot or the B spot? A. And A, when it changes signs, when it's negated, is a vertical or x-axis reflection. A positive 3 became a negative 4 outside of parentheses. What spot is that in? Down 7, subtracted 7 in the K spot. K spot, negative 7, means that is a vertical translation down 7. There you go. That's it. You match. This spot did this thing. Go back to Holy Grail. Okay, that's what it means. That's what transformations are. More. Like, if you don't get this, today will make 0 sense. So speak now, or forever hold thine pieces. Come on.
Can you scroll to 30?
Because I heard 2 different things. I heard, I have no friggin' clue what's going on. I heard, holy crap, is this easy? Those are two very different statements. And when the whole room is quiet, I'm going to assume that you get it and you want to move on because you're not advocating for yourself. It's the loud ones who get what they want. Okay. Case in point, only 12% wanted a recall in California. They got the recall because they were loud. Okay. There's current events for you. It didn't happen. It was shot down miserably because they're the minority, but they still got it because we still give them that chance because that's our process. If you don't say something, I can't help you. You said 30?
Yes.
Okay. Take this rule. F of x is 4x. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to slide that x over a little bit. And I'm going to leave blank spots. Okay. There's already something in the A spot, right? Now, I can change it, but there's already something in the A spot. I know it's an A because there's no parentheses. Nothing in a B because there's no parentheses. No H, no K, no parentheses, nothing added at the end. So I'm just going to leave those spots blank to then do whatever they said, which is translate up 5 units. Go back to the Holy Grail. Where does the arrow say up? A, B, H, or K? K. Is up positive or negative? So I'll put a +5 out in the K spot. Reflect in the x-axis. A, B, H, or K? A. Stick a negative in the A spot. Well, there's already something there. Okay. It joins it. So my answer is just negative 4x plus 5. Now, Zoe had amazing questions about this because these are lines. The thing about lines is that their vertical translation can be represented as a horizontal. Their vertical reflection can be represented as a horizontal, depending on the order you do them in. So there are multiple ways to get this equation. This is the answer. This is take this equation, do this stuff to it. But I could also say this isn't a translation up 5 units and a reflection over the x-axis of this function. I could say that it was instead well, that 4 is still hugged up on there. So negative 4 by x plus 5 or minus 5/4. Oh, now you just got to deal with it. Okay. I could rewrite the equation like this. It's still the same line. But this says, reflect in the x-axis, horizontal compression by 1/4, reciprocal, bass-backwards land, and a horizontal translation, bass-backwards land, right 5/4. Why would I go through all that confusing mess when I could just say this, right? Also, these transformations are not these transformations. These directions are not those directions. They might go to the same place, though. If I gave you, did we do the whole, like, how many ways can you get to Walmart thing? No? Okay. Right now, at lunch, you are going to go to Walmart. Jacob, how do you get there? Like, that's just it? You just poof onto the interstate and now you're at Walmart?
No.
Let's get a little more detail in that. Come on.
Go to the parking lot, get to the 4-way stop sign, go out, go straight, and then go up the lights, out towards Bell, and then hop on the interstate. And then,
Okay. So Jacob says we're going to take Termis Avenue out to, not North Main. What is it called?
Not Jackson. No.
No. Main is what the school is on. North Avenue. They call it North Avenue until you hit further downtown. Then it becomes Main. Say, go to North Avenue, head north until you hit exit, what is that, 12?
Yep.
Go east on Interstate, and then he just said you magically show up at Walmart.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to get off at exit 14, and then, right, there's other directions, okay? There are different ways. I could say if you are at school, town, cross, interstate, okay? And there's little thing, and there's Wally, okay? Some folks are going to say, all right, here's Jackson, main drag, right? Some folks are going to say, like Jacob, I'm going to get out to North Avenue, I'm going to go up to the interstate, and I'm going to go all the way around because the in-town cops know my car and they hate me. So I'm just going to go around town so that I don't have to deal with them. Okay? Someone else is going to say, you know, there's this cute guy working over at Dairy Queen. So I'm going to like take the long way through so I can go like stalk on him and see if his car is at Dairy Queen. Hey? Right? Teenagers do this kind of stuff. It's creepy. One of these kids did this to Miss McCreary while she was my student teacher. Yeah, Sam Tobin. Someone else is going to say that you're just going to come to Jackson and then onto the interstate. Okay? But you're still getting there, right? Do you want to just, like, quickest trip? North, down to Maine, to Jackson, interstate. Or do you want to get a longer distance because it made more sense for you? You still got there, right? But they're not the same directions, is what I'm getting at. These transformations are not those transformations, even if they go to the same line. All right? So you still say the transformations that actually happened, even though the line could be represented differently. It gets extra hairy with lines like that because you can mess with them so much. In fact, this reason and the whole factoring thing, that's why we rarely see B in Algebra 2. Because for every type of function, I can take B and turn it into an A. I can take my horizontal stretch and compression, I can change it into a vertical instead. Did someone steal my silly putty? Y'all know how silly putty works, right? Son of a... It's gone. My silly putty's gone. Seriously, someone stole my silly putty. Okay, we're going to see if it works with Play-Doh.
I love Play-Doh. Come on, Play-Doh, work.
Ew, it's extra gooey. Okay, we're going to leave that to dry out a little bit. All right, so anyway, y'all know what silly putty is, okay? You've seen the trick that allows you to smack it on a piece of paper and whatever was drawn on there is now on the silly putty because it transfers, okay? Wow, I feel old. Okay, short version, silly putty was a byproduct of making newspapers. It came off of the reels when they were actually printing, and this big glob of landed on a paper, and the guys at the factory looked at it and pulled it up, and they're like, oh, hey, look, there's Garfield. Like, because it took the ink from the paper on there, and then they started playing with it and bouncing it around the factory and stuff. And then they decided, hey, let's just sell this as a toy. That's where silly putty came from. You can take that thing, and I can come over to Dawson's paper, and now I've got Algebra written in really bad handwriting on my, no, that's actually okay, on the silly putty. What happens to this image? You've all just played around on Photoshop. What happens to the image if I stretch it vertically? Doesn't this way it start to come in? What if I stretch it horizontally? Okay, now they're not always a one-to-one. In fact, it depends on the type of the function. With lines, a vertical stretch by factor of 3 is a horizontal compression by 1/3. They match. Now, it's that whole varies directly as. Remember when we did direct variation? And there was some problem that said like vary directly with the square of. Okay, that would be a quadratic. A vertical stretch by factor of 4 is a horizontal stretch by a factor of 1/16. 4 squared. Reciprocal squared. Okay, so they're all related. There's different ways to get there. That's why we rarely see B in Algebra 2. Okay, so does everyone have that holy grail written down? This is how transformations happen. It's important. Okay, because, do I dare? I am going to attempt to run through 2.7. I don't know if we're going to get 2.7 done. This might be a really dumb idea because within the next 20 minutes, my 2-year-old is coming here because the whole family is sick and they won't allow 2 kids in at once into the clinic. And my wife's got to take the older brother to the clinic. Okay? So at some point, I'm going to get text or call. I'm going to run down the hallway and I'm going to come back with a chunky 2-year-old. Okay? I am not joking. He is gigantic. His brother, 4 years old, yay tall. 2-year-old is this tall. He's a monster. Okay? So I don't know if we're going to get 2.7 done. I'm going to try. Because it's really, really, really easy if you understand transformations.
Yes, sir.
So, let's do this. First up, we got to go turbo on this. Stage 1. Do you remember what absolute value means? What is its definition? Distance from 0. If only it was right there in front of us. Okay? We did, remember the whole light side, dark side thing? Right? So, if you remember that, these were literally taken from your 1-6 notes. I copy-pasted. You remember the whole n plus 2 exists at 4 and n plus 2 exists where? -4, right? So, absolute value is something we've already talked about. We know the absolute value is distance from 0. No, back to the old packet. Remember 2.5 and 2.6 were missing? I don't know why it didn't print those two.
2.8.
Just go to 2.7. Original packet. 2.5, 2.6 was a special insert because for some reason those two sections weren't in the notes. There you go. So from 2.4 to 2.7, sorry this happened. Do what Dawson just did, but a little neater because that looks mangled. Like, open your packet and stick 2.5 and 2.6 in between 2.4 and 2.7. Yeah, that sucks. Sorry. So, absolute value is just distance from 0. So if I'm going to graph that, I have to remember that what happens in positive land and negative land is going to come out the same because they're both the same distance from 0. The simplest form of an absolute value function is, lock it in, f of x is just absolute value of x. That's it. Just like I talked about the parent functions on yesterday's video, the parent functions are the simplest it can get. Y equals x squared, y equals square root of x, y equals absolute value of x. That's as simple as it gets. That is the parent function for all absolute value functions. It is the dragon that has sired dragons across multiple planes. It is the progenitor of the species. Okay? It is the beginning, the alpha. Now, it's got something on it that should look familiar from back in Algebra 1 called an axis of symmetry. Axis means line. Symmetry reflects over. So if I have an axis of symmetry, that means if I know the points over here, and this is 2 to the right, then its compatriot will be 2 to the left. Literally reflects over the line. Okay? Axis symmetry is really nice because really you only have to know how to do one side of the graph. If you do one side of the graph, then you just mirror it over to find the other. So, they gave us a table. She's short. Yes. Okay, I'll be down there in a minute. All right.
We're gonna get started.
F it, foobar. I'm shutting down. I'm not going to be able to do this with him in the